Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Canada's podcast, the Atlantic Canada version. My name is Rivers Corbett, hanging out in the beautiful province of New Brunswick. And I've got my colleague and friend Nick Mumberket with us today. Nick's with New Ground Financial. And, you know, this guy is not your average insurance sales guy. So we can put that right away right now. Nick is a guy who is an entrepreneur, has built a very interesting business, continues to build nationally, and combine that with doing some cool things in the community. He really knows how to what the journey of the entrepreneur is all about. We're going to talk a bit about some of the things that he's experienced as an entrepreneur. We're going to talk about his business, and we're going to bring in some advice for you folks who are listening in from across the country. So, Nick, welcome to Canada's podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you for sure. So when we first started this conversation a few weeks ago, you read something, and I was like, okay, give me your background, give me a bit of the taste of what it's about. That's why I got excited, was because of this document. And so what I'd like you to do is, I know you found it, which is great. So maybe we can turn this around. Instead of you being the guest, you're going to be the host who's giving us an overview of the guest. So take it away, my friend. I really love what you have to say about your journey.
Yeah, here it is. So I'm an avid poster on LinkedIn, and a couple of weeks ago I posted this. So I said, "How bad do you want it? I'm nearing 14 years into my professional career, and I feel like I'm just getting started. Don't expect great things without a great effort. I would not be where I am today without the help of my wife, mentors, staff, coaches, courses, conferences, self-education, reading hundreds of books, listening to thousands of podcasts, looking after my physical and mental health, and making well over 5,000 cold calls. I've always doing what I previously thought was impossible, with the goal of becoming the person I want to be, not the person I once was. Your clients and prospects buy into who you are and how you make them feel, not what's in your bag. Nothing comes without an immense amount of focused effort. Put in the work. Nobody else will do it for you."
Bravo, man. Bravo. And you do this through your company, New Ground Financial. Can you tell us a bit about New Ground?
Yeah, New Ground Financial is a firm that I founded in 2018, late 2018, early 2019. And we specialize in helping small and medium-sized businesses with their employee benefit programs. And we also help the business owners eventually as they grow from startup to growth and maturity with their tax and estate planning and wealth planning.
So when you say that, that's a service that has tremendous competition associated with it. What's your differentiator? How do you last 14 years, and when I'm sure many don't? So can you talk about that?
It's patience. I'm a younger advisor in the industry still, even 14 years later. The average advisor in our world is somewhere between 50 and 60 years old. So when I started in the industry, my sole focus was on employee benefits. I spent about 110% of my time working that market. And we still do spend about 80% of our time specializing in employee benefit programs. And I guess what makes us different is we offer unique products and services and a view of the industry that is fresh. It's a fresh perspective. One of my taglines is, we're breaking new ground in a time-worn industry. And no offense to some of the older advisors, there are some great advisors in the country. But oftentimes what I found was they were doing the same thing year over year. They may have 40 or 50 years experience, but they have the same 40 and 50 year experience year over year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've done is created an accelerated growth pattern, not only for myself based on the efforts that I just discussed, but for that of any of our associates. So, our specialization in benefits sets us apart because most people want to be generalists in this industry. And when you're a generalist, you don't go to your GP and ask for heart surgery, and we're the heart surgeons of employee benefits in Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. I love that descriptive. So, talk me through the sales approach and part of the Canada's podcast is to get advice in a way that people can take and apply to their businesses too. So I think other businesses that have a lot of competition in them would really be keenly interested. Okay, I get the differentiation. That makes a ton of sense to me. Now, how do you ultimately get in front of somebody when to tell them about that differentiation? What's the process you go through for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, for myself personally, it's mostly referrals,
Okay.
thankfully. So we've built a strong client base of clients as well as centers of influence in our community. So from a marketing and sales perspective, what was important to me is really I built a business around a few different pillars. One was a lot of cold calls, like I discussed a minute ago. We niched down in that market. We weren't scared to make calls and still aren't scared to make absolute cold calls, pick up the phone, call a random business or call a specific business that we had our eye on and introduce ourselves and see if there's a way we can help. We still do that. And I believe that is still a valid way to build your business, regardless of the noise out there in today's market.
What is
So
that? Sorry to interrupt, Nick. What does that sound like when you call somebody and it's out of the blue? What can you give us a 60-second how you get them to say, okay, yeah, talk to me?
Hey Rivers, it's Nick Mombercat from New Ground Financial. May I ask for 2 minutes of your time to tell you why I'm calling? And if you don't want to talk after that, I'll go away. Is that okay?
Beautiful, beautiful, and just smile and dialing. I love it.
Smile Island, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
very cool.
cold referrals, cold calls was a huge pillar of our business. It still is. Now that we have a well-established block of business, we continue to dig down in the relationships that we have and add value
Mhm.
as much as we can. Effectively, it's important for me when any of our clients ever hear the word group benefit, pension, life insurance, insurance and estate planning, that they think of us first. So I basically do everything I can to be top of mind to all of our current clients to ensure that referrals are coming our way. And furthermore, developing centers of influence in the community. So, a lot of the planning that we do coincides with that of legal offices and accounting offices and those types of things. So I've literally called and continue to call on all of these professions throughout Atlantic Canada, as well as Ontario and Alberta, where we are also licensed, and introduce myself and get to know these other professionals and teach them why we are different. And, as I reflect a little bit more, one of those big differentiators for us, and I can speak truthfully for myself, is that although I do this as a career to provide for my family, it's not about the money. It's not about the Ferrari. It's not about the Rolex. It's not about the bigger house, all of that type of thing. It's about what value can we add to our potential clients and
Mhm.
how ethically and transparent can we be during that whole process. And sometimes that means I don't get the sale today. It might mean I never get the sale, but it means that whomever's on the other end of the line, they're understanding what we do as an industry more. They're understanding their situation, and now they're making a more informed choice, regardless of what benefit or lack thereof I may have after that conversation.
Yeah, very cool. It's a philosophy that you've adopted with New Ground Financial, and I think it's all about people ask me about branding and how important is branding to a an organization, and I say it's everything. It's your DNA. It really and it needs the attention put to it versus just kind of think about it. No, you got to really put some attention to it. What do you want other people to say about you? I love that you've said that previously. We had a conversation a little second ago about LinkedIn. Talk to us about LinkedIn. It's or any of the social media platforms that you might use in order to help you market your business.
Yeah, social is one of those pillars that we spend a lot of time on, and LinkedIn happens to be the number one that we focus on. There's hundreds of millions of business owners on LinkedIn, or business professionals who are there specifically to do business. So that's a huge focus of ours. We do spend some time on Facebook and Instagram for different markets and things like that, but ultimately LinkedIn is the big one, and so what we've done there is, again, try and add value as much as we can. So if it's creating a biweekly post, or even a couple of posts a day in some situations in and around a certain topic to educate our audience,
Mm-hmm.
connecting with those centers of influence again. So anyone who's connected to me on LinkedIn, I say you're either going to love what's there, you're going to delete me in a few weeks. But I want people to understand and learn as much as they can, and that's what we try to do, is educate our audience. We are teachers in the industry, and that's it. So we went on further to develop a podcast, one in which we call The Interesting People You Meet. And the goal of that is to highlight local and national business professionals and better understand their journey. So we use LinkedIn as a portal to share the stories of others as well, on our own platforms. And we feel that it does add a lot of value to our community that we're building, and gives a better idea and awareness of those other local business owners who want to get their name out there. And we do it and sponsor it and pay for it all for them.
Very cool. I love it. You just came through a week of COVID.
Yeah.
And this isn't a pedestal to talk about COVID. It's a pedestal to talk about how do you, as an entrepreneur, prepare for those days when you can't get out of bed, yet the business needs to keep on going.
That's such a great question. And I was reflecting on that this morning and even last night, coming out of COVID, so to speak. And
Yeah.
I think one of the things, and it's not a brag, but I think as a business owner, and especially as a business owner in the insurance industry, this again, perhaps is a differentiator that sets us apart, that might not sound so surprising to some of your listeners who run businesses. But if, I guess I'll go on a bit of a tangent, but in the insurance industry, generally, people are really good salespeople, but they can't run a business. There's very few who can. So one of the big things I thought of as I introduced New Ground and created it was I wanted the people, processes, and policies in place to know that in the event that Nick ever got hit by a bus, that this thing would run as a smooth ship. That's why I didn't call it Mombercat Financial. I called it New Ground Financial.
Right.
I wanted a saleable, buildable asset that could run on its own. So that's kind of what we created pre-COVID. COVID helped. It kind of made me look smart, but I didn't expect that happening. So
Yeah.
last week, I'm at the gym. I have one of the best gym days of my year, and I measure that. So I knew for sure. And I get a text from my wife who goes, "Hey, Nick, I just tested positive for COVID." I was like, "Oh, wow, I feel great," and went home. And then sure enough, the next morning, I'm rocked with it. So, how did I manage through that time? Well, my business, I can literally stop working today and come back in a couple of weeks, and it will still do its thing.
Nice.
We've digitized our business as much as we can. I have an amazing staff of sales, another sales associate, an amazing administrator who's always there when I'm not, to make sure that this is a true and tried and tested business, and not just one guy trying to run around with his head cut off.
Yeah, I love that. Well, what do you say to the one guy running around with his head cut off? Because
I'd say, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, just because they exist. So for those new guys and
Yeah.
gals, what and talk, you can talk about it in generalities, because there's a lot of
Mhm.
solopreneurs out there.
Absolutely. I'd say, yeah, you got to define the lifestyle that you want to create by being an entrepreneur. And if running around and being busy all day makes you feel really good, and you go home and you sleep well at night, and your marriage is awesome, and your kids love you, and you got lots of money in the bank, then go for it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work for me. So, if you're in that position, know that, one, there's hope. You can get out of it. You're probably going to have to find a business coach. You're probably going to have to find a mentor, and maybe even pick up a couple of books. Ultimately, you become what you read and who you hang out with. So if you're stuck in that little spot and you feel like you're running around and you're running an amazing business, you have a great product or great service, but you're bagged at the end of the day and wondering, is this what entrepreneurship really is? And
Mm-hmm.
some days it is. But there is an opportunity to create systems. Read the book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. That's a great start.
Great book.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a million that I could recommend. Reach out to me. I'd be glad to share 5 or 10 minutes with you and give you a couple of ideas on what has helped me systematize my business to allow me to step away without having to stress out about it.
So I'm going to take a little pause for a commercial break for you here. You said reach out to me. How do people reach out? And we're going to continue our conversation, but how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, sure. You can find us. The best way would be to connect with me on LinkedIn. So it's Nick Mombourquette, Mombourquette. You can find me on LinkedIn or nick@newgroundfinancial.com, or you can check out our website at www.newgroundfinancial.com. And you can book a time with me right there.
Right. Love it. Love it. Talk about the decision to move beyond Atlantic Canada to Ontario and Alberta.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about that decision?
Yeah, that was one. Like the business, I kind of have this personality where I build it before it needs to happen. So I do that with my personal finances. I do that with a lot of things in my life. I did that with COVID. I got in extremely good shape over the summer. I got hit with COVID. It only lasted a few days, and hey, I'm great. Now, I don't know if that's the same case for everyone, but I did that with my business. So when we launched New Ground Financial, I thought to myself, I want it to be a national firm at some point. COVID hit, and a lot of pessimism was created, a lot of frustration, a lot of fear, a lot of scarcity for some business owners.
Mm-hmm.
And for me at that time, I said, what's the opportunity here? And I thought, well, the industry changed overnight. Basically, prior to COVID, I would have had to drive to see you and get a wet ink signature basically on everything we do to legally bind documents and those types of things in the insurance industry. When COVID happened, the insurance carriers changed their process as quick as they could to implement Adobe Sign and DocuSign and these types of things, where now we can work digitally, we can work from a distance using Zoom, using Microsoft Teams, etc. And that was the opportunity that I seen. I said, listen, I'm in a great market here. I love Atlantic Canada. I love everything that the people have to offer. But I also know that there's millions of more people in Canada, in particular in Ontario and out west. So when COVID hit, I said, this is it. We're going to go make a digital presence in these other provinces. We don't have physical boots on the ground there. We are a registered corporation, etc. All the legalities are fine.
Right.
But now I said, great, here's an opportunity to market digitally, to build our presence in other provinces without physically having to be there every day. So I have COVID to thank for that. And that's why I made that decision.
Yeah, and have you been able to take the systems you have in Atlantic Canada and just duplicate them in Ontario or in Alberta, or was there anything different that you had to do?
That's a great question. Absolutely. So I would say the systems themselves, yeah, the tonality, the process, a little different. Things do work differently, out west. My experience here in Atlantic Canada is that generally everyone wants to get to know you, perhaps a handshake at some point before we're going to do business. It still exists. There's certainly some outliers that don't live in, don't adhere to that anymore. But I found and realized when I'm working in Ontario and Alberta that those communities are quick on their toes. Not going to hesitate to make a decision if it makes a lot of sense for them and their employees and their business, and that I do appreciate. So the tonality has had to change when we're dealing in those other provinces relative to here in Atlantic Canada.
Interesting. So you've talked a few times about your family. You have kids. You have your life partner, your wife. How do you balance that off? It's funny. I don't know if it's funny, but Richard Branson's a big mentor for me, and he says it's not work-life balance; it's life balance. Work is just a part of it. Personal is just a part. How do you do that strategically with what it is that you're bringing to the growth of New Ground, but also the growth of your family?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And I would have to agree with Richard on that. I think that we're either, throughout the 24 hours in our day, we're either 100% in our business or hopefully 100% with your family. And ultimately that's my goal. When I'm at one or the other, that's where I am. So I've implemented a 4-day work week for myself. I only work Monday to Thursday. Fridays I'm off. It allows me to just decompress a bit. When my kids were younger, it allowed me to hang out with them a bit more, but now they're in school and daycare and stuff. So That Friday has been really, really good to me, allowing me to kind of decompress and be prepared to enter into the weekend with my family and totally
Mm-hmm.
focus with them. I try not to, and rarely bring work home with me physically and or mentally. It's not perfect. Last week was an absolute nightmare, trying to manage that, even though I was able to pause despite all the things I said. It's still running through your mind, and you grow into that. But I think the most important tip I would give to any business owner is just to make sure that when you're at work, make sure you're at work and you're not fooling around with other stuff. And when you're home, make sure you're home and you're with your family and you're present for your partner, for your children, for whomever. And then what I find personally is if I can do that, when I get up the next day and arrive at work, I don't feel guilty. I feel motivated and excited to continue and build my firm.
Yeah, I love it. So talk about Atlantic Canada, and why. I mean, you talked about loving it there. You talked about doing business there. What's the business support ecosystem like for you?
I think um, I'm a bit of a lone wolf, to be honest, Rivers.
Okay.
I know I got to be honest with you. I think
Yes,
it's
sir.
there. I think it's there if you need it. I know there's a bunch of communities and hubs and whatnot which support startups and entrepreneurs. I'm in a really weird industry where there's not any of those existing, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, and from what the doors I've knocked on, not so supportive of what we do because there's a bit of a lack of understanding of what goes on in our
Hmm.
world and the
Hmm.
struggles and challenges and problems, needs and frustrations we go through every day in my
Sure.
sector. Um, and then, yeah, and in our industry, it's so highly competitive that I think everyone's scared to talk to each other, which I'm not. You'll see I share tips and tricks online about what I
Hmm.
do and how I serve, but there's a bit of a scarcity mentality in my industry sometimes in which folks don't want to share. And and that's frustrating. And that's kind of what led me to be honestly kind of do my own thing and look to mentors like a Richard Branson or whomever that may
Yeah,
be.
sure.
I am fortunate enough to have an amazing mentor who's helped me in my past number of years, and he remains anonymous and he wants to be kept that way. But outside of him, it's kind of me and my books and my own attitude and optimism that have helped me grow.
Very cool, man. I love that answer. I love it.
Yeah.
Talk about the future. What's the next couple of years like for you? For you?
Yeah, the next couple of years I'm very excited to see what's going on. I think our penetration and growth across the country is something I'm very excited about, learning and understanding those new markets, perhaps adding to our sales team in those markets would be amazing, having some physical boots on the ground there. Um, we are still a pretty relatively small firm. We've got one full-time assistant, myself, and a full-time associate at this point, a couple of years in here to the business. So my 3 to 5 year goal would be to have at minimum 5 full-time sales associates with a couple more support people to help us spread our message and service across the country.
Yeah, across the country. I'm going to be interested in when you're going to go to BC and Manitoba and so on. Is that part of the play?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say every province and territory here in the next few years outside of Quebec, because their licensing is a little different. And I
Right.
don't speak very good French despite my last name. So it's a bit of a lost cause for me. I am a huge Habs fan, though. So any excuse to go would be
Ah,
cool.
good stuff. Yeah, I'm a Habs fan too. I'm more of
Yeah.
a football guy these days than I am a hockey guy. But then when I have to be, it's definitely for the Habs.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how many children do you have?
I have 3 children.
Three children. If they
Yeah.
were all gathered around right now, and you could tell them one piece of advice that they needed to that they needed to focus in on in order to start their own business, whatever that might happen to be, not necessarily in the financial services world, what would be that piece of advice be?
Well, I kind of said it earlier, and it's a mantra that I live by and think about a lot. And it's you become the people you hang out with and the books you read, and this
Right.
day and age, perhaps the videos you watch. So I really think that, you know, protecting our mind and uh, and from the inflow of information from wherever that is one of the hardest things we can do, and one of the best things we can do. If we can learn to control the distractions and the noise and focus on what matters most right now, we can do anything we want. So again, we got to watch out who we hang around with, because we'll get the results. And second, we got to watch what we read and the information we consume. Again, it will make who we are and our results.
I love it. I love it. So true. So true. Well, Nick, this has been an amazing conversation. It's been concise. It's been wrapped up nicely with a bow. And is there anything left that you wanted to talk about? Maybe you can just say again one more time how people can get in touch with you again, because that's part of the advantage of being on our podcast. But if there's anything else that you'd like to say to them, go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to, if you're an entrepreneur listening to this or aspiring to be one, I congratulate you. The road is it can be long sometimes, but it's so darn rewarding if you put in the efforts and again, surround yourself with the right people. So congratulations to anyone who's, pulled the trigger and done it, or if you're considering it, take those calculated steps. But in a few short years, I hope that like me and others, you'll be happier, healthier, and feeling a lot better because of that choice you made. I find once you get that bug in your gut and you feel it and you get that itch, you can't scratch it, you can't get rid of it. So you kind of got to go for it.
You got to go for it. Yeah, I call it the most beautiful curse out there.
This is it. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, so my name's Nick Mombercat, nick@newgroundfinancial.com. You can find my schedule on our website if you want to reach out. If you have any questions, just want to catch up, find out more about me or how we might be able to help you. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in to my story. And Rivers, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Bang on, dude. You've impressed me since the day I met you, which was the first day a little while ago, and this is the second day. So you still continue to impress me, man.
Keep right on. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.